He had the taser entry marks and some bruises and other injuries from being knocked down and beaten and sat upon by a police officer who was significantly larger than him.
That's James Schmidt recalling the day after his friend Ryan Clary was released out of jail and faced a stack of charges for resisting against law enforcement. A noise complaint about a 2009 Hard Rock Festival in Gainesville was followed by a hostile confrontation between police officers and the partygoers.
If you're injured and flailing around or some part of your body comes into contact with theirs, then they immediately accuse you of battery on a law enforcement officer, which is a felony charge.
Schmidt quickly co-founded the Alachua Committee Against Brutality to share his friend's story and protest in front of the Alachua County Courthouse. Clary's charges were dismissed, but so were Clary's opportunities, as Schmidt described how that story was written all over his body by 4 direct taser contacts.
This was completely draining, emotionally, financially, logistically. He did seasonal labor of different sorts, and he was unable to travel and go make a living in his usual way. He missed out on job opportunities.
A review of the use of force annual reports from the Gainesville Police Department shows taser deployment is slightly up over the past 4 years. GPD Assistant Chief Terrence Pierce says the taser doesn't contaminate like pepper spray, so it allows the officer to better take control of the situation.
If they do bad things to other people and the only way to get them under control is to use force, we will use force. And if the taser is one of those items that is going to be used, I'm all for it. Because again, the chance of that person being hurt, the chance of someone else being hurt is limited because of the effectiveness of the taser.
Pierce says 22 taser uses last year aren't so high because it was the same number in 2008 when GPD first used tasers. But having worked for Maryland law enforcement for 26 years, Pierce says there is a difference in training requirements. He says not all GPD officers have crisis intervention training.
We are aware the use of the taser in some rare circumstances could result in death. So if that's part of your training, you're going to be very reluctant. There are too many unknown factors. Obviously, dealing with a Baker Act individual, it's definitely a benefit to be CIT certified.
Just like GPD, Marion County Sheriff's Office also sees an increase in taser deployment. MCSO Director of Public Information Paul Bloom says their crisis intervention unit only consists of 5 full-time employees.
Baker Act, this could be somebody that's walking out into traffic, somebody that's whether suicidal or even homicidal. If it requires, and we say this person, we need to take them into custody, and maybe taser is the only way to do that. And there's a lot of factors. I know that the types of drugs they were taking, that kind of thing, that affect the heart, and the taser can exacerbate that. So, yeah, and we have no way of knowing that.
It was the highest increase from 2016 among local law enforcement agencies. The reason is a policy change, according to Bloom. Every time a deputy removes his taser out of the holster, that now counts as a taser deployment and a use of force report.
Anytime there's a use of force, the deputy had to pull a taser out. Didn't necessarily tase the person, but maybe he displayed the taser, showed the electricity, and the person then complied. That's a use of force, a report, separate from the incident report. Everything we do is out in public view. We want people to see that we're not doing anything, forceful and strong-handed.
Also, a deputy himself, Director Bloom says his department has made efforts to increase transparency, including equipping body cameras that can turn on whenever an officer takes out a taser. The Gainesville Police Department also purchases more body cameras, but they do not have this function connected to the tasers. Schmidt says none of them is enough until there is an independent civilian counsel to review the use of force.
The footage mysteriously disappearing or camera malfunctioned at a crucial moment. I'm skeptical, even if it is activated by the taser being deployed.
Schmidt also says Clary's case isn't the only example of police brutality, but he says his committee work on the common ground that a decrease in the use of force will start and end with a healthy relationship between law enforcement and the community. Jawanza Tucker, WUFT News.